The holidays are wrapping up and the snow is setting in, so what better time than now than to take a look at some of the most memorable winter-themed levels in gaming. As some of the entries on this list will prove, snow levels can be some of the most striking and visually compelling portions of a video game. And don't forget how important the music is in creating the right atmosphere for each level. The perfect track can turn the cold atmosphere of a frosted white landscape into an exciting, thrilling experience, or even a calm and soothing one. Before we get started, I want to know what some of your favorite snow levels are, so leave a comment down below. While you're at it, hit the like button to show some support, and if you're new here, be sure to hit the subscribe button, and also click that little bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a new video. My name is Tony, and today we'll be taking a look at my top 10 snow levels in video games. So you've created an iconic game with unrivaled level design and a rocking soundtrack, slapped together a couple of killer sequels, and think to yourself, we're onto something here, but I don't know, it needs to be a little bit more extreme. And so Mega Man X was born. Sharing the same basic principles of the original games, Mega Man X brings the series to the 16-bit era and benefits from improved graphical and audible enhancements of the Super NES. Unlike his older brother, Mega Man X focuses on animal-based robot designs as opposed to humanoid ones. The robots you fight along the way are dangerous rogues called Mavericks, and our hero X is a Maverick Hunter. It's his duty to destroy all 8 Mavericks and stop their leader Sigma. Each Maverick has its own unique stage, as well as a unique boss fight, but we're talking about snow levels here, so at number 10 we have Chill Penguin Stage. If you've played this game before, you know that Chill Penguin is the first stage you should play in order to get that sweet dash upgrade as soon as possible. He's also one of the easiest Mavericks to defeat with just the X-Buster, so that helps too. There are some pretty cool enemies on this stage, including this one that sends a spiraling snowball down the mountain at you. There's no reason to worry though, as there's a set of ride armor just lying around for you to use to your advantage. This stage isn't too tough, but the music is reason enough to put it on the list. With AAA titles dominating the market, many indie developers turn to other sources of funding to produce their games. Kickstarter, for instance, has funded the development of a few standout games, but they also have a reputation for pumping out some hot garbage. Possibly the most notable Kickstarter success is a little game called Shovel Knight. Have you heard of it? Shovel Knight harkens back to the 8-bit NES era with 2D platforming as its main focus. Our titular hero can use his trusty Shovel of Hope to defeat enemies and dig up some cash on his journey to save Shield Knight from the clutches of a mysterious dark power. Along the way, you have to fight your way through the 8 members of the Order, one of which happens to be Shovel Knight's old friend Polar Knight. And that brings us to number 9, Stranded Ship from Shovel Knight. This level has some of the more unique platforming challenges in the game, as well as an added element of caution and challenge in the form of some good old ice physics. All jokes aside, it's actually not that hard to stay in control of your movements as long as you take it slow. Like I said before, the boss of this stage is Polar Knight, a fellow shovel wielder who seems to have some history with Shovel Knight. The two seem to have a mutual respect for one another, but that doesn't stop them from fighting for what they believe. Man, I just love this game. The 8-bit aesthetic and music feels so nostalgic despite the game only releasing in 2014. Yacht Club Games has really set the bar for what indie developers are capable of. When I was growing up, you either had a PS2, an Xbox, or a GameCube, or you were that one kid that was stuck with his older brother's N64. Well, lucky for me, I was that kid's friend, so I got to play some of the classics such as Mario 64, Pokemon Stadium, and you guessed it. At number 8, we have Freeze-Easy Peak from BanjoKazooie. This stage is so nostalgic for me, especially around the holidays. With a very Christmassy aesthetic, Freeze-Easy Peak really brings out that sense of childish joy and wonder from when I first played this game. The entire vibe of this level, not to mention the music, is really energetic and totally reinforces the idea of a winter wonderland. Nostalgia plays a pretty large role in my decision to put this level on the list, but I really do think that BanjoKazooie is a fantastic game that everyone deserves to play. I'm looking at you, Rare. If you won't put Banjo in Smash, at least give me a remaster. As much criticism as the Call of Duty series gets for its repetitive nature and questionable practices, it's hard to argue that the series hasn't had its own share of memorable moments. With yearly entries from one of 3 different studios, it's easy to see how this blockbuster franchise is currently the 5th best-selling franchise of all time. It's true that the series has fallen on some controversy in these past few years, but let's kick it back to 2010 with Call of Duty Black Ops. Featuring a full campaign, fast-paced multiplayer, and classic boots-on-the-ground gameplay, Black Ops was hands down my favorite entry from the series. The game takes place during the Cold War, so there are plenty of snow-filled campaign missions and multiplayer maps to pick from, but I'm actually talking about the third mode from this game, Zombies. So at number 7, I have the Call of the Dead Zombies map from Call of Duty Black Ops. You probably didn't know this about me, but I'm actually a massive Call of Duty Zombies fan. I've played every single map from Nacht der Untoten to Dead of the Night, and I personally think that Black Ops and its DLC features some of the best maps that Treyarch has released thus far. Call of the Dead features an all-star cast of horror movie regulars. Michael Rooker, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Danny Trejo, and Robert Englund are stranded in a Siberian outpost after their film shoot gets a little too real. They're then forced to fight off the zombie horde, which just so happens to include director George A. Romero. The atmosphere and design of this map is unlike anything we had seen before, with the constant threat of Zombie George following you around the entirety of your mission. What mission is that, you ask? Well, it turns out that our regular zombie squad is trapped somewhere on the map, and it's your task to help them escape to paradise. If you're as much of a Zombies fan as I am, you know exactly why this map is on the list, and you're hoping that one day we'll get that Call of the Dead remaster that we deserve. I never got very far on M64 as a kid because I didn't own the console myself, so I always had to play it at that kid's house. It wasn't until the Virtual Console release on the Wii that I got to play this game in all of its glory. There are plenty of memorable levels in this iconic game, and I think you know where this is going. At number 6, we have Cool Cool Mountain from Super Mario 64. I'm sure you expected to see it somewhere on this list. Cool Cool Mountain is one of the most memorable levels from Super Mario 64 in my opinion. I mean, who could forget throwing a baby penguin to its death just before challenging its mourning mother to a friendly, lighthearted race? Nah, I'm just kidding, you can have your baby. There are plenty of childhood memories weaved into this level, and I'm sure that many of you can probably relate. The music, the snowman, the penguin, it reeks of nostalgia, and that's more than good enough of an explanation for me. It's hard to be a Sonic fan sometimes. We've had our fair share of decent and not so decent Sonic games over the last few years, but I think most people would agree that the classic Genesis trilogy is one of the series' highest points. Speaking of high points, at number 5 we have Ice Cap Zone from Sonic the Hedgehog 3. This level is chock full of personality. I mean, just listen to that soundtrack. Not to mention that Sonic is sliding down that mountain faster than you can say, "Oh god." Sonic 3 is a very stylistic game, and Ice Cap Zone does a great job of showcasing that. This level really makes you feel like Sonic with its high-speed level design and fast-paced soundtrack. If you've been around the channel for a little while, you'd know that I tend to focus my videos on a certain style of video games, generally favoring Nintendo games. So I really wanted to highlight one of the coolest parts of one of my favorite games on PS4. At number 4, we have Cainhurst Castle from Bloodborne. If you don't know what Bloodborne is, I highly recommend you check it out, but be warned, it is not for the faint of heart. From the developers of the Dark Souls franchise, Bloodborne is an unforgiving action RPG that takes place in the Gothic-inspired city of Yharnam. By following a very convoluted series of actions, you can find your way to Cainhurst and confront the horrors that await within the castle's walls. Upon reaching the structure, you encounter these flea-like bloodsuckers that lurk around the entrance, and immediately you are warned of the danger that awaits you. You'll eventually find the boss of the area, Martyr Logarius, and boy are you in for a fight. Wielding a magic scythe, Logarius will attempt to rush you and maintains a very aggressive pattern throughout the fight. This was one of the hardest bosses in the game for me, and I literally had to give up and come back once I was much more prepared and experienced with the game. After I finally beat this boss, the satisfaction of placing his crown on my head was more than worth the hours of suffering it took to get it. It's pretty clear that movies based on video games don't really work out all that often, but what about video games based on movies? What about video games based on movies based on video games? Or even video games based on movies based on comic books. At number 3, we have Frozen Suburbs from Scott Pilgrim vs. the World the Game. Based on the comic series by creator Brian Lee O'Malley, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, the game. This title is way too long. Anyways, Scott Pilgrim's design is inspired by the NES era of video games, with Easter eggs sprinkled throughout the entire game. The game follows the same basic structure as the film that it's attached to, with Scott falling for the new girl, Ramona Flowers, and then being shoved into a series of life or death battles with her 7 evil exes. You can play with up to 4 players for some good old couch co-op action as you aim to secure Scott and Ramona's future. Frozen Suburbs is the name of the very first area in the game, where you punch your way through the mean streets of Toronto while blasting the beautiful chiptune soundtrack performed by Anamanaguchi. Oh yeah, this is a beat 'em up, cool right? As of December 30th, 2014, this game and its DLC were permanently delisted from the PlayStation Network and Xbox Live Arcade. This turned out to be quite an issue as the game was only ever released digitally, with no physical copies ever created. This means that the delistings have rendered this game completely inaccessible. Luckily for me though, I purchased the game while it was still available and the game is installed on my PS3, so I get to enjoy this gem whenever I want. Yes, this is another Sonic level. Get over it. I grew up with the Sonic Adventure series, and although I eventually went back to play through the original Genesis games, I really have a soft spot for modern Sonic. Okay, maybe not the most recent modern Sonic, but you get the point. We haven't seen a truly good Sonic game for quite some time, which is part of the reason why I was so excited to play Sonic Mania when it was announced in 2016. If Sega couldn't pull together a good Sonic game, maybe Christian Whitehead and his team could. And oh boy did they pull together a good game. Sonic Mania made me understand why people prefer the classic Sonic formula. The simple, fluid, fast, and stylistic gameplay of Mania revived that sense of wonder that I felt back when I first played Sonic Adventure. The game has quickly become one of my favorites in the series due to both its nostalgic trip through Sonic history as well as the debut of brand new levels. At number 2 we have Press Garden Zone from Sonic Mania, Act 2 to be specific. Act 1 takes place in a repurposed ancient ruin, but there's not a whole lot of snow to be found. Act 2 on the other hand takes you outside into a winter wonderland filled with cherry blossoms and Japanese architecture. After seeing the aesthetics of this level for the first time and coupled with the amazing music, I instantly fell in love with this stage. There are some unique platforming challenges present in this level due to the ice-themed hazards, and the boss fight at the end is one of the most memorable ones in the game in my opinion. I know that it may be a controversial choice to put Press Garden above Ice Cap Zone, but I can't deny that this stage has got just about everything that you could ask for in a snow level. Whether it be the music, the gameplay, the atmosphere, or just pure nostalgia, each of the levels that I've featured in this video have their own unique reasons for being one of my favorite snow levels. We finally reached number 1, which just so happens to be from my favorite games of all time, so some of you might have seen this one coming. At number 1, we have Mount Silver from Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. As I'm sure you already know, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver are the Generation 4 remakes of Pokemon Gold and Silver. Although Mount Silver originated in the Game Boy Color games, I'm gonna go with the updated version that was featured in the DS remakes for my pick. Like I mentioned earlier, Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver are my favorite video games, so that may have something to do with why I placed it at number 1. Following a long journey through 2 regions and 2 Pokemon leagues, players have to climb their way to the top of the mountain in order to face their final challenge. Legendary Pokemon Trainer Red awaits your challenge at the summit of Mount Silver, and without a single word, the battle begins. Your skills are put to the test as you face the strongest trainer in both regions. It doesn't get much better than this, guys. If you've ever played a Pokemon game as a kid, you know exactly how special that bond between you and your 6 partner Pokemon becomes as you journey together across the region, earning badges and thwarting the plans of the evil masterminds. Even as an adult, I still can't help but feel attached to my Pokemon as we earn the ultimate title of Pokemon League Champion. Nostalgia definitely plays a large role in why I love this moment so much, and why Mount Silver is my favorite snow level in gaming. And there you have it, my top 10 snow levels in video games. If you have a favorite that wasn't mentioned in this video, again, be sure to leave a comment below letting me know, and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this one. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.